Oh, what's up, guys? DFS Dudes here to give you my GPP core plays of the day. We have an enormous 14 game slate to look at and break down, and there are plays all over the place that you can take advantage of tonight. First and foremost, let's look at what concerns us tonight. There are some weather issues to look at. Cincinnati and Atlanta, you're looking at a possible thunderstorm situation again there. Could have a delay, could see the game stop somewhere. So starting pitching in that game, if you're looking at that, you might want to take a second look at that and just make sure that you're willing to take the risk on the weather. Minnesota and Chicago, there's a flash flood watch in Chicago right now. Um, that's another really risky situation. It is early right now. It is the Midwest. It is volatile weather with humidity and things of that nature. So make sure that that's another situation if you're planning on targeting players in that game that you're taking a look at the weather and making sure that that's good to go. Cleveland and St. Louis, this is really probably the game that's probably going to be a likely late start. This game probably does get in, but again, Midwest weather, humidity, volatile. Make sure you're monitoring that if you're looking at playing players in that. And of course, Corey Kluber is the most expensive pitching option tonight, and he could be a low-owned play tonight, depending on how risky the weather's looking leading up to it, and it's a situation to look at to see when that weather's going to hit. If it's going to be a late start with clearing after, then there's a good chance to maybe get some lower owned shares of Corey Kluber, because people may just completely fade it altogether with the weather risk. Um, Advantages to take up to take things to take advantage of tonight. Um, the Angels at Boston, the wind is blowing out at 10 miles per hour to left field. It's warm. It's very hot and humid in Texas. The roof's probably closed in Houston. They don't have that luxury there at the ballpark in Arlington. It's very hot, very humid. The wind's blowing in is what if you look at where's the wind at in that ball game, right? So it's blowing in from right. What a lot of people don't know about that stadium is that they've got some kind of a windshield that's behind the plate, and when the wind blows in from right, it's actually blowing out to right. So the wind blowing in, it deflects off this windshield they've got, in the upper deck behind home plate, and it redirects the wind out to right. So it's hot, humid, the wind's blowing out to right. Um, Man-made generated wind blowing out to right is what I'll call it. But it's not a lot of people know about this. They do have this windshield. If you watch a lot of baseball and you do watch the Rangers, you know that they've talked about it more than one time on many occasions that they've got this windshield behind the plate that redirects the wind from blowing in when it is blowing in to blowing out to right. And then Seattle at Baltimore, the wind is blowing out to left. It is warm. It is humid there also. That game should play. I think there's a little bit of a weather concern with some pop-up thunderstorms, etc. But it looks like right now, and it's early again, that game's going to play as well, and that game shouldn't have any delays at all. Let's look at pitching real quick before we get into the core. These top five guys right here are without question the top five pitchers on the slate. They should be the most owned. You should do whatever you can if you're stacking up teams, etc., to get exposure to these guys. They're all in pretty good spots. They've all got all of the numbers that go along with justifying their price. Charlie Morton's at a really good price facing Toronto. Severino, he's probably Severino's probably got the worst ballpark that he's pitching in altogether. But all five of these guys look to be higher owned pitching options tonight. They're the guys you should pay up for and try to get exposure to. How do you differentiate yourself when it comes to GPPs tonight? We'll get into that when we get into the core piece. Some other guys you can look to, though: Price, Godley, Chad Bettis. Chad Bettis is a guy that we picked on last week at home, and we cited his home road splits. He's absolutely terrible at home, and he's been really dominant on the road. He's 5-1 on the road with a 2.70 ERA. He's $6,000. He has 5 quality starts on the road. He's pitching at AT&T Park tonight. We do know the weather is quite a bit cooler on the bay there. It's a pitcher's ballpark. We all know that. So he's probably a deep GPP play, but he's a guy that has just got these really, really, really bipolar splits, right? He's absolutely terrible at home, and he's been really, really good on the road. 5-1 with the 5 quality starts. Stacks, Boston will lead the way tonight in ownership, I'm sure. They have the 5.7 implied run total, which is the highest implied run total on the board at the moment. Houston, disappointing last night, second highest implied run total tonight at 5.4. And then a team I really like tonight in tournaments, it's a good hitting environment. Their prices are really cheap across the board. They've got some guys that can hit the ball out of the ballpark. Is San Diego playing against the Rangers? They've got Bibbins Dirk. I don't like Bibbins Dirk as a pitcher. I just don't think he's good. I think that was not the norm, the start he got last week when we did cite him and tried to pick on him last week. But they've got some, and they've also got cheap bets, right? I think Villanueva is 2,800. You got Margot at 2,700. Margot's hot. He's got over 10 hits in his last 7 games. Will Myers, he's 2,600. He's a really good play. So I like San Diego as a stack. And one of the real reasons I like them is because of their price. They do allow you to move up and get a bigger, one of these bigger top 5 pitchers from a price standpoint. So those are probably the 3 stacks that right now that I like the most today. There's some other good spots to take advantage of. You do have to find a way to differentiate yourself today if you're going to play in tournaments. And with these top 5 guys, pitching wise, probably going to lead the way in ownership. Where are you going to differentiate yourself? And for our core tonight, we're going to start that off with Zach Godley. Zach Godley did have a rough patch, and Godley did not pitch very well for a while. But over his last 3 games, Godley, he's got 3 wins, he's got 2 quality starts, he's got 21 strikeouts, and on this large 14-game slate where, you look at these other pitchers, they're big names, Kluber, Severino, Morton, Paxton, Stripling. They're big names. They're at the top of the pricing chart. They're in good spots. Where are you going to differentiate yourself? And Zach Godley, I think, can give us, strikeout upside. I think he's got 8, 8, and 5 in his last 3 games strikeout wise. So he's got strikeout upside. They probably will be closing the roof there in Miami. Look for that to see and just to verify that. But I like the spot he's in. I like the fact that he'll probably be quite a bit lower owned than the other pitchers on the slate. And that's where we're going to lead the core off with tonight. The next guy I'm going to go to is kind of a pivot, and he's a guy in a really good spot, and that's JD Martinez. I think that Mookie Betts is going to be a pretty high-owned play today, and rightly so. But if you look at these guys side by side, they're like 1-2 in WOBA. They're like 1-2 in ISO. The only real difference here between Betts and Martinez is both give you double dong upside. Betts can steal you a couple of bases in a game and give you double dong upside. He could go 4 for 5 or 5 for 5, steal 3 bases, hit 2 home runs. Yes, he can. But I think he's going to be really popular tonight. So I'm going to pivot off that for tournaments. Cash game wise, I think Betts is a great play all day long in cash games. Tournament wise, pivot off of Betts and go to Martinez. And if you take a look at Betts, he's 4,900. So you could build this around this core and then build a second lineup and just swap Martinez out for Betts. And then we're in that situation again where whichever guy has a better day gives you the better lineup. So I really like Martinez. Boston has a 5.7 implied run total. John Lamb's a lefty. And over the last 7 games, Martinez is the hottest Red Sox. He's 11 for 26 with 3 doubles and a home run. So it's a guy I really like. I think he'll be lower owned than Mookie Betts will be. So we're going to pivot off the Betts play and move to JD Martinez and try to take advantage of that high implied run total and kind of the same spot. The next guy I'm going to go to is a guy I just think is really cheap and a really good way to get exposure to Seattle tonight, and that's D. Gordon. Stolen base upside. He's 2,800, left-handed bat against Gausman. Gausman is not a good pitcher. Gordon's 9 for 32 in his last 7 games with 5 RBIs and a stolen base. He's got a 654 OPS versus right-handed pitching this year. I just think he's too cheap at 2,800. Gausman is in the bottom third as far as allowing stolen bases or stolen bases against, however you want to look at that stat. And I think this is a really good spot to get a guy I just think is too cheap at 2,800, who's really a pest at the top of the order, can get on base. gets you stolen bases, he scores runs, and he does swing the bat well. If you know he's one of their better players this year as far as batting average, on base percentage, etc. The only thing D Gordon lacks, as opposed to some of the other guys you can get exposure to in the lineup, like a Mitch Haniger, a Nelson Cruz, who are also good plays, is the isolated power and the power stats. But he does make up for it in the other categories. You know, he does get on base, he does score runs, he does steal bases. So D Gordon is going to be our second base pick. The next guy I'm going to get to is Brandon Belt. Belt is starting to heat up again. You know, he had the appendectomy. He was on the DL for a little bit. Over the last 7 games, he's 7 for 22. He's hitting 318 with a 784 OPS. He's 9 for 22 in his career against Betis with 2 doubles and a home run. Season long, Brandon Belt is one of the top 15 players at the plate this year, right? He's got a 227 ISO. He's got a 357 BABIP. BABIP is batting average on balls in play. 152 WRC plus, which is 11th in Major League Baseball this season. He's 12th in WOBA at 392. He's starting to get hot. He's got ownage on Betis. He's at home. I like the spot that Brandon Belt's in. He also is in the 10-15 game, which gives us a late night hammer in our core. Brandon Belt, I look to have a really good game tonight for the Giants against Colorado, and a guy I think will be really low on tonight, especially with Eric Thames that seems to be going to be a popular play tonight. I know a lot of our guys are on Eric Thames tonight, so I think Thames will be popular. I think Belt's a good GPP play pivot off of him, and they're very close in price. If you look at Eric Thames, he's at 3,900. You could literally build this core and then start swap. I'm giving you some swap out. So you could build with Belt. You could build with Martinez. You could just build an identical lineup, build one with Mookie Betts for Martinez, and you could build another one with Eric Thames for Brandon Belt and kind of start to switch these things out a little bit and give yourself some exposure and some good spots where you're just trading one guy out for the other. So that's going to do it for the core tonight. Actually, let me give you my BVP play for the night. My BVP play tonight is in a risky weather spot, but my BVP play tonight's Logan Morrison. Logan Morrison, 2 things. Make sure the game is going to play. Second thing, make sure that Morrison's in the lineup. I do think he'll be in the lineup. Managers are seeing the same numbers we are. They got analytical departments, right? So he's 5 for 6 with 2 home runs against Lopez. Again, make sure he's starting and make sure that this game's going to play. 42% hard contact rate, 49% of that's fly balls. I do think that Morrison puts us in a good spot to get a utility play here. And then you've got 3,200 to play with around this core. And like I said, I've given you some swaps as well, where you can build another lineup and just swap one of these guys out to get exposure across the board and put yourself in some good spots. All right, guys, that'll do it. We'll do a review on this tomorrow. If you have not checked out the site, www.dfscheatsheet.com. Make sure that you are looking at all of the features that are starting to pop up on our site in our optimizer. We've got all breaking news, etc. on the front page. You can hit the articles. Make sure you do read our value plays, which we call Value Street by Justin. Steph has got the GPP core, his cash game core plays. That is up right now. And then as far as the optimizer goes, within the optimizer, the tools are starting to launch. You've got On the Mound. You can look at the Vegas lines, etc., the game preview, where the ballpark is, where they're playing at, etc., etc., etc. And then the piece that we are starting to get flowing here is the BVP and the daily lineups. You can see what the projected lineup is, what guys in that lineup. This will update as the lineup's confirmed as well. And again, you've got news. We are about to launch the bulk save feature, import-export, so you can replace your lineups and save your dummy lineups. We have all the features for you here at DFSCheatSheet.com. We appreciate you, and we will see you tomorrow. Keep it cashing, guys.